I'm Phil Bolton with the Global Atlanta News Service, and today I'm with Paul Gleeson, the Consul General of Ireland based here in Atlanta. Good to see you, Paul.
Thank you, Phil. Delighted to talk to you.
You've been here since January.
Yeah, we've been in this building here, this Irish consulate now, and we've had a great welcome here. We were delighted we had the Governor and the Mayor along to join our Ambassador Collins to cut the ribbon on this place in February. So it's a great city in which to be based, and it's an exciting venture for us. This is our first consulate anywhere in the American South, and our first new one in the US since the 1930s. So it's a very exciting venture and a great part of the world to have a base in now.
Why was Atlanta chosen for this special designation?
It's obviously an increasingly important hub for the Southeast region as a place to do business, and this is really a market that we want to get and know. It's home to major corporations, obviously, like Coca-Cola, Delta, UPS, who've been very important partners for Ireland for a number of years. It's home to big Irish companies like Oldcastle and Elan Drug Technologies, and it's home to wonderful universities like Georgia Tech, Emory University, Georgia State, with whom we've very good links. So there was all of that. Plus, I think that the history in this part of the world and the remarkable role that Irish and Scots-Irish people have played here over generations. And I think we're here to pay tribute to that in part, and also to build on it and to try and build new linkages in business, science and culture however we can.
It's particularly interesting in the fact that Ireland recently has, as many areas, including the Southeast, experienced economic difficulties. So it shows an Irish program to, I guess, increase exports.
Yeah, that's a very big focus for us. Ireland has a very export-oriented economy. It's a key route for us out of the difficulties. And we have come through a difficult period. We experienced in Ireland a pretty severe property boom and bust over the last few years. And that has played through now over the last 18 months. And we think we're coming out the other end of it now. We've had very good growth numbers so far this year. And the economy is going to return to growth now in 2011, which have been predicted. And we had excellent export numbers as well. Our trade surplus in June was our highest ever. So we've come through that in a very good way, and we're trying to bring some of those export success stories here to Atlanta and to the Southeast region, and that was why we did a big trade mission here last week with some 67 Irish companies or universities. So very much so, exports are a big part of how we're recovering from this, and we want to bring that story here to the Southeast as well.
You mentioned this trade mission that was headed by Michael Bruton, your Minister for Innovation?
Richard Bruton, yes.
Richard Bruton, I'm sorry. Was that successful specifically in any way?
Yeah, we had a really great visit here. We spent 4 days in Atlanta, Miami, Raleigh and Charlotte. And I think, we've hit some key cities there and some key states. I remember shortly after I arrived here reading something that a huge proportion of the growth in the US over the next 20 years will be in just 5 states, and 3 of those are in the Southeast: Georgia, North Carolina and Florida. So it was key for us to get to those markets. And we brought a number of Irish companies in sectors like life sciences, telecommunications, aerospace, clean technology, smart farming, who have particular niches and areas of expertise. And we're trying to join them up with some of the big players here. So we met here, for instance, in the consulate with AT&T, with some of our niche telecommunication companies, and lots of our other companies through those different cities. And we've established some very good connections there, and we're hopeful a lot of very positive work will come from that.
Do you, in Ireland, work with any of these companies already?
Yeah, we do. We have a trade agency called Enterprise Ireland, and they're based in New York, and covering the Southeast from New York. So the consulate was very much working with them in the build-up to this trade mission. A lot of the companies, in fact nearly all the companies on the mission, would be clients of Enterprise Ireland. And so Enterprise Ireland are looking for the kind of partners they want to meet, and then working with us here in the consulate as well to try and identify some of those partners here in the Southeast and to make those connections. And that's what we can do, I guess, as an Irish government. We can be there just to try and facilitate those connections, an almost matchmaking service almost, and to give our companies with cutting-edge technologies, many of them, to give them those introductions and hopefully let them find the business here in the Southeast.
As Consul General, is this an important aspect of your job? It sounds almost as if you're a trade commissioner as well as being a Consul General.
Yeah, I think the focus for us has shifted to an agenda of promoting Ireland abroad. And we try and do that fairly aggressively and promote Ireland positively. I guess for a long number of years, Irish-US relations were viewed often through the prism of what was happening in Northern Ireland. And happily now we're in a much better place in Northern Ireland. We have a very successful peace process, and it's a stable, normal polity. It's a political system in which the squabbles are about regular things that we'd understand, like water charges and things like that political fights should be about. So being in a much better place with that, I think it gave us an opportunity to focus more and more on the US-Irish economic relationship. And it's one that's been, I think, good for both our countries. People know about the large number of US jobs in Ireland and people using Ireland as a European base because we've got low business taxes, because we've got a highly skilled workforce and so on. But less people would realise that Irish companies here in the US employ 82,000 workers across every state of the Union. So it's very much a two-way economic tale, and we're here to tell that story and to grow that relationship as well.
That economic bond strengthened in the 1980s, pretty much. Those were the years for the Celtic Tiger, as it were.
Yeah, like, I mean, the Celtic Tiger really grew, I suppose, and is seen historically to have grown out of a lot of reforms that governments in Ireland took towards the late 80s and early 1990s. And out of that, we had a great period of growth, of real export growth, and a period in which we grew to the European average and surpassed it by many barometers and many measures. I think the growth that we experienced in Ireland from maybe 2002 to 2003 up and until 2007 was growth that, unfortunately for us, was in large part centred around the property market and that property bubble that built up. And it did build up to a utterly unsustainable degree. So the fallout for that then is what we're dealing with now, and trying to recover to that export-based growth, which was so important to a very globalised economies like Ireland's.
During the boom years, we heard so much about the strength of your educational system. This is what attracted so many companies. You had trained workforce, you had a great system of colleges, universities, and also the schools preparing those students for that higher education. Unfortunately, when the economy goes into the dumps, a lot of those people will leave because they have opportunities elsewhere. What's your government doing to keep them at home?
Well, we're trying to attract as many top-class attract top-class industry to Ireland, and also help our indigenous sector and our entrepreneurs. I think we have more entrepreneurs per capita in Ireland than almost anywhere in the EU. So we are very much focusing on that, and we've had a lot of success. When we look at, say, foreign domestic investment, or foreign direct investment rather, we have 8 of the top 10 information communication technology companies in the world are in Ireland. Facebook are there, Google are there, Intel. We had an announcement from Twitter earlier this week. They were establishing an Irish operation. We've got 18 of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies in Ireland. So a lot of those CEOs who are making those decisions to come there are telling us that the Irish education system that you mentioned is a big part of that reason. And we're continuing to rank highly by those measures. We are ranked 4th in the world for the availability of a skilled workforce, according to the World Competitiveness Yearbook, which has Ireland 4th in the world also for openness to new ideas, 6th in the world for labour force productivity. So we rank very highly internationally by those measures, and that has certainly helped us in attracting investment, and also in growing up a lot of the companies I talked about who were, say, out on our trade mission here last week. You'd see a lot of those growing from the kind of entrepreneurial and dynamic environment that is created by having companies like Facebook and Google on your doorstep. So it's a very positive climate for business, and we rank highly as a place to do business as well.